Hey, Shalawam. It's your brother Yahawashi, all right? First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High, Yahawah, by Hashem, Yahawashi, by Hashem, Kal Halal Yahawah. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say Shalawam to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth in sincerity, all right? May the blessing of election be upon your house. I got a clip I want to run for you guys, man, and we're going to respond to it through the Spirit, Abba, Rataza. It's edifying, all right? So with no further ado, I'm going to run that clip for you all. Make it nice and big on the screen. And let's get into it.
Usury is the worst of all crimes. You wouldn't look at a place like Germany, because all we know about Germany is what they told us about German history. Either Hitler, yeah, right, okay. Nothing to see there. Yeah, there is something to see there. Germany was on its knees in a worse position than us. Way worse. Their money was worth nothing. It took a wheelbarrow of Deutschmarks to buy a loaf of bread. Germans were starving. 6 million unemployed, 2 million homeless. You could go to Berlin and buy a mother and daughter for sex. Bestiality was going on, lesbianism and homosexuality, all that was going on in 1933 in that neighborhood. And this is where I gotta say it. There's a lesson there. This is why I say it. As Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." In 1933, Judea declares war on Germany. Adolf Hitler was the only popularly democratically elected leader in all of Europe. Winston Churchill wasn't. None of them were. He's only just come to power in a coalition government. Judea declares war on Germany. 14 million Jews of the world unite calling for the destruction of Germany. How many people know that? That might be relevant. That might be relevant. If Judea declares war on Germany, that might be relevant. Did Judea declare war on Palestine? Oh, they say Hamas. What are they doing? They're genociding my family over there. The same Judea, the Jewish state of Israel. You're not allowed to say that. When Adolf came to power, 6 million unemployed, 2 million homeless, crime off the charts, pedophilia rampant, debauchery, and the sexual enslavement of humanity. Berlin was the moral cesspool capital of the world. Within 5 years of taking power, this bankrupt, starving nation had the highest wages in Europe, 6 weeks mandatory vacation on cruise ships that weren't allowed into this country because the British did not want British people to see how good the Germans had it. All of that he achieved, and he outlawed usury. Adolf Hitler outlawed usury. You know who else did that? Oh, a guy named Muammar Gaddafi did that. Oh, something bad happened to him. John F. Kennedy did. Oh, shit, he got shot in the head too.
So it's in the law, not to subject your people to usury. Now that's talking about, those of our own nation. But if you put in usury on the bulk of the people within your nation, the society's going to go to shit. People are going to be poor. There's going to begin to be a huge gap between the people that are doing the lending and the people that are getting lended to. Okay? And the small hat has done that to the whole world, because they haven't just done it on the just one nation's level. They've done it internationally to all the nations. They've lended to all the nations. That's why they have these central banks set up. Anybody tries to stand up to the banks, they get them out of there. So you go to Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, it talks about how this man has insulated himself, insulated his position through having others in debt. All right, let's go to Habakkuk 2. And it's one of my favorites here. Habakkuk 2, and I'll start at verse 4. It says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him." We know Esau is a profane spirit. Okay? And I'm going to run that clip again. We're going to watch it again throughout the lesson. He said, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith." Okay? We understand that there's an avenue out of this, and we understand that, the results the Lord is going to bring upon the earth. This man isn't going to get away with all his wickedness and the decrees that he has decreed. All right? Verse 5, "Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, He spoke about in that video how Germany at the time was the capital in the earth for debauchery, the capital on the earth for pedoism, the capital on the earth, for sexual deviance, and it was. You don't learn about that, especially here in the Western school system. Okay, the first transformer surgery was done in Berlin, in Europe. Germany. So wherever these small hats go, you see this reoccurring theme of debauchery. When you go to Romans 1, the Lord talks about all those wicked characteristics at the bottom, and how the gateway, he'll open up somebody to that all these characteristics by the gateway of sodomy, right? Homosexuals. He'll, somebody given over to that spirit is given over to all those characteristics at the bottom of Romans 1. Actually, let me go read some of those characteristics. We're going to come back to Habakkuk 2. Okay? You can find a trail. Wherever you see these characteristics being prevalent in a society, you know a particular subgroup of people are there heavy. Okay? It's by no coincidence. It's Romans 1:24. It says, "Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves." Okay? "Who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up to vile affections." Wanting to mess with children, cut your rod off, men with men, women with women. These things are vile affections. "For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly." Now there's a particular nation upon the earth who the scriptures say their vine is as the vine of Sodom. It's a natural thing for an Edomite man to, experiment, if you want to call it that. Man, it's gross. You expect that from them. Okay? That's the spirit that the Lord has given them over to. All right? Verse 27. "And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of the error which is me." Now I want to jump down to a lot of these characteristics in verse 29. It says, "Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness. Wisdom won't dwell in a malicious soul." So a lot of the things that this devil does is leading to the destruction of the earth itself. Then he has to come up with another solution to fix it, but he's just compiling the problem when there was nothing to fix. You look at a guy like Bill Gates. Trees are bad. Who's the scientist here? These are men who are malicious in nature, regardless of how they present themselves, regardless how the media machine presents them. They're malicious. Okay? Goes on to say, "Full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God. Noah Yuval Harari. We don't need God. We can make our own water." He's one of the heads of the World Economic Forum. A man that thinks like that, we don't need God? What's your quarrel with the Most High? Strange. But these are the people that are in rulership. So the conditions of the earth reflect these spirits that have, been upon the throne. But as it says in Isaiah the 47th chapter, they're not going to be on the throne for long. We know this. So there's light at the end of this road for the believers. To those who don't know what's going on, man, their only hope is what Esau tells them. And ain't no hope in shit he got to say. Okay, because all he says is deceit. All right, now let's go back to Habakkuk 2. Boy, they always fixing these roads out here in Dallas. I've been out here for a few years now, and this shit's never fixed. Like, we're taking money out of our checks, and the shit's never fixed. It's always lanes shut down, the roads are always still fucked up. Anyway, Habakkuk 2. Alright, and 5. It says, "Yet also because he transgresseth by wine, he forces a philosophy on the whole earth. And anybody that doesn't adhere to it is depicted in his media engine It's bad. So there's a spell casted on most people to conform and agree with Esau's point of view and perspective, which is contrary to the Most High. And when you get to the root of it, it's actually sadistic. Okay? It says, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. And so, Esau, he goes everywhere trying to forward democracy his way. Years back, you had women in the so-called Middle East, which is really just Western Asia, in the so-called Middle East, protesting about not being able to drive. Then you come to find out that those women were, agents that were set up by the West to go over there in those lands. They weren't even from over there. So he pushes his wine on everybody in all these different places to heap everybody unto himself for the purpose, his ultimate goal, is to get everybody to take his mark. That mark in Revelation 13 and 16. Because you taking that mark is you giving dominion of your soul over to him. Back in ancient times, the Romans and the Greeks, they would tattoo or brand their slaves to take ownership over an individual. But this is going to be on a much higher and potent level. He puts that chip in somebody, he merges the neurons in your brain with his machine, with his grid. He's going to be able to have, stake and control and manipulation over you on a completely different level that we've never seen before. And anybody that takes that mark, like it says in Revelation 14 chapter, you're going to taste of the Lord's wrath. Okay, so at that point you've chosen your side. Okay, destruction is allotted to you at that point. So that's why he wants to heap to himself all people. Now it says, who enlarges his desire as hell and heaven are living conditions. Hell and heaven are living conditions. Okay, if you didn't know that. Okay, and is as death. Scriptures say this man is as death, meaning the conditions of death follow this man wherever he goes. And he set up shop in every corner of the earth. Okay? And cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him? In the book of Obadiah, in the 7th verse, it talks about this devil's allies even turning against him. Because everybody has come to the realization that existing under this man isn't living. Notice I said existing because we're not living. We're perpetually subject to payments. No one's truly sovereign or could, create their own reality. Okay? The only people that benefit from the perks of the society are the Edomites in high places. Or if you're a Jake that's willing to, compromise yourself, compromise your own people, to have a snack or two. Which, when I talk about wealth and really living, you have some sort of control over the infrastructure within your society. If you have control over aspects of the infrastructure in your society, then you can create a reality for yourself, your loved ones, and your people. None of our people are in that position regardless of how much money they have. You look at a Jay-Z or LeBron James or Oprah, they don't have control over how society functions and the outcomes that our people can have. Okay? They might be the doorman to a particular industry or a particular world that's set up, but they don't have any control or say-so to the outcomes, the lasting outcomes that our people can have. Shalawam always mentions the athletic world, music world, Hollywood, politics. We have people that are set up as gatekeepers, so to speak. But those gatekeepers don't have control over the infrastructure or the outcomes that our people get at the end of the day. Okay? So, goes on to say in verse 6, we're in verse 6. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. Okay? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. When it talks about him ladeth himself with thick clay is talking about the debt. Everybody is in debt in some sort of way. Everybody owes him. That's why when you hear about even Jake's, going into things like the music industry, okay, the contracts that they're in, the things they have to do to get their foot in the door, whether it be blackmail or whatever, they're in some kind of debt to this man. Whenever Esau does a deal with you, he always makes sure that you're in a position to where, he can corner you to do whatever he needs you to do. Whether he can blackmail you, whether you're in debt to him, he's insulated himself with that debt. Okay, now I'm gonna run this clip again. He just brought out a couple precepts. But a man that rules that way, not for the sake of life flourishing, not for the sake of people being able to enjoy the earth and the children flourishing. Don't even get me started with what he does with children, as you all know. This isn't a man that's fit to rule or lead. So if you say you believe in the scriptures, you say you long for righteousness to go forth. Because if you love the Most High, you're going to love the Most High wants. And the Most High wants righteousness to go forth in the earth. That's why the kingdom of heaven has to be set up. So if you're a person that say you believe in the scriptures, but at the same time you're not vexed with the rulership and the decrees and the things that are going on in society, and you're not able to acknowledge who's the source of it. There's a lot of people that say they believe in the scriptures and they're Christians, but they'll never acknowledge who's the source of the wickedness. There's people that are ruling that are evil. Okay, when you look at the bulk of who those people are, who are those people? Okay, it will be the small hats, and the scriptures say that those small hats today will correlate with what? The Edomites, the rulers of the daughter of Babylon. When you go to Isaiah the 47th chapter, it talks about them being stripped from the throne, the rulers of the daughter of Babylon. Now you always could just go straight to the Apocrypha, 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, to prove that Esau will be ruling upon the return of the Lord. You always could go there, but you might run across a Christian that doesn't know him, like, oh, that's not in the Bible, right? So if you just wanted to prove it with books they know, you can go to Isaiah 47. You say, okay, the ruler of the daughter of Babylon is going to be stripped from this rulership position right before the kingdom of heaven is set up. Who's the daughter of Babylon? Okay, who's going to be ruling the daughter of Babylon? Then you go to Psalms 137 verses 7 and 8. It brings up Edom, which shows you in prophecy that the Edomites would still be present upon the return of the Lord, right? So the Edomites are ruling the daughter of Babylon. Okay? And the chief tribe of Edom would be Amalek, which would be the small hands today who are occupying the land. Like it talks about in Ezekiel 36. They're occupying the Holy Land. So the earth needs new management. And if you say you're a believer in the scriptures, you're a believer in Yahawashi, you should be longing for the new management to be had. If you're new and you say you believe in the scriptures, something should be rubbing you the wrong way about how this society is ran. And when you get to the root of it, you'll come to find, okay, this is the devil that the Bible speaks of that's doing this. Because the devil that the Bible's thinking of, like a guy with red horns and what? No. Those who are carrying out evil on the earth have a physical counterpart. When you go to 2 Thessalonians 2, verses 8 and 9, it talks about a man whose coming is after the working of Satan. Okay? And further up in that chapter, in the beginning, I believe, where was it, verse 6 or 7? Where it says, the mystery of iniquity doth already work. The Romans were ruling at that time when Paul wrote that letter to the church of Thessalonica. Okay, so in 2 Thessalonians 2, and I believe verse 6 or 7, it says the mystery of iniquity doth already work. He was alluding to the fact that the Edomites, the wicked, the man of sin, or the same people that were ruling the Roman Empire. Okay, so it's very important to identify who's who in the scriptures, because then what's playing out in the earth begins to come together clear for you, and it makes sense. But yeah, I'm gonna run that clip for you guys one more time, and we'll pretty much wrap up the video. So just run that one more time for you all, and we'll wrap it up, guys. Let's see here. All right.
Usury is the worst of all crimes. You wouldn't look at a place like Germany, because all we know about Germany is what they told us about German history. Yeah, right, okay. Nothing to see there. Yeah, there is something to see there. Germany was on its knees in a worse position than us. Way worse. Their money was worth nothing. It took a wheelbarrow of Deutschmarks to buy a loaf of bread. Germans were starving. 6 million unemployed, 2 million homeless. You could go to Berlin and buy a mother and daughter for sex. Bestiality was going on. Lesbianism and homosexuality. All that was going on. In 1933, a man named Adolf, and this is where I gotta say it, there's a lesson there. This is why I say it. As Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. In 1933, Judea declares war on Germany. Adolf Hitler was the only popularly democratically elected leader in all of Europe. Winston Churchill wasn't. None of them were. He's only just come to power in a coalition government. Judea declares war on Germany. 14 million Jews of the world unite calling for the destruction of Germany. How many people know that? That might be relevant. That might be relevant. If Judea declares war on Germany, that might be relevant. Did Judea declare war on Palestine? Oh, they say Hamas. What are they doing? They're genociding my family over there. The same Judea, the Jewish state of Israel. We're not allowed to say that. When Adolf came to power, 6 million unemployed, 2 million homeless, crime off the charts, pedophilia rampant, debauchery, and the sexual enslavement of humanity. Berlin was the moral cesspool capital of the world. Within 5 years of taking power, this bankrupt, starving nation had the highest wages in Europe, 6 weeks mandatory vacation on cruise ships that weren't allowed into this country because the British did not want British people to see how good the Germans had it. All of that he achieved, and he outlawed usury. Adolf Hitler outlawed usury. You know who else did that? Oh, a guy named Muammar Gaddafi did that. Oh, shit, something bad happened to him. John F. Kennedy did. Oh, shit, he got shot in the head too.
All right, so Abba Rataza, man, the lesson was edifying. Want to give all praises once more to Yahawah, Bahashim Yahawashi, Bahashim Kahakbadash. Want to give double honors to apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Want to say Shalawam to all the brothers, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth in sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. Shalawam.